So this morning, my next guest sent a letter to Gary Gensler, chair of the SEC, and Robert Cook, CEO of the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, is also known as FINRA. He's asking both organizations to review events that are surrounded Meta Materials Series A preferred shares, we know as MMTLP. Joining me now, South Carolina Congressman and member of the House Financial Services Committee, Representative Ralph Norman. Representative Norman, your letter notes that you've received over 40,000 letters from concerned investors regarding the halting of this stock, the level of shorting. Have you ever seen anything like this?
You know, Charles, I really haven't. I mean, if anybody that invested in this company is definitely not going to be a Santa Claus this year. Now, the backdrop on this, we had a constituent call our office, and I think it was early in January, it may have been December, asking if we could help find out about where his shares were in a company he invested in. And as you mentioned, it's Meta Materials, trades under MMTLP. It was been trading since 2021. It's a nanotechnology company that makes small products. It's like, I understand it, the cloth that water beads up on. It's that kind of technology. But in any event, in the summer of 2022, the SEC approved a Form S-1 for the formation of a new company, which all the shares of Meta were transferred to this Next Bridge Hydrocarbons. And in December 9th of 2022, FINRA issued a U3, which is rare from what I'm being told, that prevented the shares from being sold or traded.
Yeah.
And he was trying to find out where his shares were.
He's got a lot of company. And by the way, these are relatively small investors, a lot of these folks. Some of them it's the first time investing. And I think it's a damn shame the way it's begun for them. Back on September 28th, you had a chance to ask Gary Gensler if he was familiar with MMTLP. He played it very coy. He said it, quote, not very deeply, although I thought it was ironic because he did mention the stock during a hearing on the 13th of that same month, where he said he could not confirm nor deny if there was an SEC investigation. So here we are again. You are writing them once again. But again, I'm trying to figure out the bizarre behavior on the part of regulators in this case.
Well, Charles, we had him in a hearing, and he tap danced around it, like you said. He knew exactly what was happening. You know, and FINRA, as you know, works for the SEC. Gary's supposed to know about it. You know, when you have the members of, I think the VP of the OTC not knowing why the shares weren't traded, when you can't find out what shares exist, if any, there's no excuse for this. So he's paid to know about this. And, you know, their mantra is to protect the public. And if he can issue 500 pages to require companies on their climate change and the effect on the world, the economy, he can sure find out about this. But as of now, no response. We're asking had 16 questions, asking for answers at the end of the this month.
End of this month, okay. And I hope that happens. In the meantime, individual investors who are watching this, you're a capitalist. You're a very successful American capitalist. People look up to you. That's why they elected you into office. They want you to bring that kind of thinking to Washington, D.C. But how can people have trust in a system that, to your point, is more focused on ideology like ESG than whether, you know, people can simply buy it? The Wall Street Journal dissed the shareholders of MMTLP, suggesting that the trading halt was their fault because it's a risky stock. Is it the role of FINRA and the SEC to stop stocks trading arbitrarily because they think they're risky? That's not their role. How can people trust the stock market?
Well, under this administration, they can't. And to get no answers from Gensler, to get no answers from FINRA, it's unacceptable. And so they can't have trust in it. And until new players are involved, these are important agencies. But to ignore it, to not tell us about the blue papers that were filed, to not tell us what they knew and when, is unacceptable.
Representative Norman, I want to say on behalf of all these small investors, God bless you. I mean, people, they've been begging for help. They reach out to me on social media all the time. There's so much I can do. I've passed along their concerns to a lot of folks. You stepped up to the plate. I want to say thank you very much. Merry Christmas, and we'll hope to hear from you real soon.
Thank you, Charles. Merry
Thanks
Christmas.
A lot.
Hello, me again, qntainmnt. I just want to say, wow, unbelievable work that this community has put in to making that happen. For a congressional member to come on the Charles Payne show and talk about MMTLP, I just want to say, wow, excellent work to everyone in the MMTLP community. A year's worth of work has paid off exceptionally well. And I just want to give a shout out to the community, first and foremost, for all of that just now. And all of this. Massive shout out to everyone who was able to make this letter, this open letter, with all of these congressional signatures possible. Pat yourselves on the back. We have all worked so very hard for this, and I am so proud of the MMTLP community. Now, I think it's important that we take a brief look at this letter so that we may have a restful and relaxing holiday season. Let's take a look at number 9. This one was John Berta's favorite. On number 9, the open letter requests that the SEC and FINRA provide the delivery of the certified, audited, and consolidated count of shares that were held by all U.S. and foreign financial institutions, together with their clearing firm, counter brokers, including trades not reported in the Consolidated Audit Trail, CAT, related to MMTLP on the date of December 12th, 2022. Please include all shares/holdings of long and short positions, as well as IOUs held by each participating broker and market participant as record owner, beneficial owner, or in any other capacity, including but not limited to all shares registered at AST, all shares held in U.S. broker-dealers, all shares held offshore that were traded and never settled through the appropriate clearing channels, and the ability to provide the location associated with each short position identified above. Number 9 is going for the jugular, and I love it. It is absolutely great. That number 9 is sharp. I see why it's John Berta's favorite, but it's not the only one that I think is really good. It's not the only request on this open letter that is clutch. Let's go to one of my favorites. Number 15. Number 15 says, are your organizations willing to work with NextBridge Hydrocarbons to determine a resolution for existing shareholders? For example, some investors have expressed concern that even though their brokerage account statements include shares of NextBridge in their account, these shares may not have actually been delivered to their broker-dealers. Now, that first line in number 15 is, are your organizations willing to work with NextBridge Hydrocarbons to determine a resolution for existing shareholders? There's only one answer to that. There is absolutely only one answer to that. I mean, if this is any type of interrogation, or this is any type of I would say a formal authoritative request, what if FINRA and the SEC said no? No, we're not willing to work with NextBridge Hydrocarbons to determine a resolution for existing shareholders. What if they said that? That would just be like, that would be amazing. That would self-incriminate them so much to the point where it's like, oh, okay, so you're a regulator that is supposed to protect and provide transparency to the investing public, but you're not willing to work on a resolution? You're going to say no? That is tantamount to saying, hey, we have a job here, but we're not going to do that job. We are not going to do our jobs. I dare them to say no. I dare them to look at number 15 and say, no, we're not willing to do anything. I dare them to. that would just be, oh my gosh, that would trigger a congressional subpoena almost immediately, at least in my opinion. And I think that FINRA and the SEC can't afford to have a congressional investigation specifically on their organizations regarding this, especially if the SEC and FINRA are complicit in any way, shape, or form. They cannot afford to say no to number 15. Now, Congress can start the compulsory process at any point in time. They could subpoena FINRA and the SEC tomorrow if they wanted to. But my guess is that they want to give them enough of a chance to come clean and spill the beans regarding this situation. Now, in the interview, Ralph Norman flat out said it himself. To get no answers from the SEC, to get no answers from FINRA is unacceptable.
And to get no answers from Gensmer, to get no answers from FINRA, it's unacceptable.
And for Ralph Norman to say that means that the SEC and FINRA have not been cooperative at all this entire time. Instead, what they've been doing is they've been putting out stupid, ridiculous FAQs regarding the situation. Now, we don't know what the SEC is doing. They may be investigating, but all FINRA has done so far is stonewall, put out FAQs that have been, at the very best, vague and foolish. They haven't done anything at all. They have not been cooperative. So I dare them to try and skip over number 15 and decide that they're going to continue to not cooperate. They'll march to their own destruction. Number 10 is a good one too. And it's just simple, plain, and short. Have all MMTLP shareholders received their NextBridge hydrocarbon shares? And we know for a fact that if everyone received their NextBridge hydrocarbon shares, we wouldn't have a issue related to an overage. But the problem is that we know there's an overage. FINRA has admitted to that. But we know for a fact that not everyone can receive their NextBridge hydrocarbon shares. Some people have stock IOUs. And as a matter of fact, probably most people have stock IOUs. If the allotted amount was 165 million, but let's say, for example, there's 700 million total shares outstanding, I mean, that's more than 3 times the float. So if they were to say yes to that, they'd be lying publicly. And that FAQ would be proof. The FAQ that they put out would be proof of it. So self-incrimination. Let's all start saving that supplemental FAQ right now. They have trapped themselves. Now, I'm going to go over one more. I think this one is equally important as the other aforementioned requests. Okay, so number 4, it says, provide the exact date and circumstances surrounding FINRA's determination to implement the U3 halt, including all unredacted communications between FINRA, SEC, government agencies, any outside organizations, FINRA members and non-FINRA members, and any other individuals. Also include all information surrounding the SEC or FINRA's knowledge of the share price in any public or non-public exchange before issuance of the U3 halt. So this is good. This is really good. So now, assuming that this is answered honestly, which I don't believe will happen, I think that they're going to try and hide some more. But if number 4 is answered honestly, then we would see those names in the recent or not so recent FOIA emails that came out earlier this year related to, the trading halt. We may see someone from the SEC, someone familiar, unredacted in one of those emails. So now again, this is assuming that FINRA and the SEC answer number 4 honestly. So, like I said, we could see unredacted names that we've been eager for almost a whole year now, revealed from that FOIA email. That would be huge. I have a few names in mind, but I'm not going to speculate. But non-FINRA members too. Yes, that's also big. I don't believe that FINRA is going to answer this honestly. I think that they're going to lie. I think that they won't provide that information. I think that they will do more to harm themselves and run from this, but it's just not going to work. It won't work. All eyes on you, FINRA. All eyes on the regulators. It makes me sleep better at night, knowing that FINRA and the SEC have a nice bit of homework to do going into the holidays. The deadline for this is January the 31st, end of this month. So, we'll likely see a response in 2024. So, that gives me a good feeling, knowing that those over at FINRA and the SEC and those that did this to us have to sweat through their holiday season knowing that their ass is grass and that the sweet boot of righteousness and justice is right around the corner. All right, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up. Thank you for watching. Comment down below what your favorite part of the letter is. I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I am praying for all of us that we get our resolution sometime soon in 2024. So again, shout out to everybody who has worked so hard to come this far. Thank you all sincerely from qntainmnt, and have a nice holiday.